Hey everybody, this is something different. So I'm currently working on a video about Mr. Poopy Doo Doo. But last night I was a little bored, just feeling a little chatty. So I decided to get in the Discord with some fans and just chat for a little bit. And as I started to chat, I started to tell a story that everyone seemed to enjoy and they thought I should tell for a video. So here we go. Okay. I feel like, am I too close to the mic? Feels like I'm kind of, whatever. I'll keep a good distance. But anyways, because I can compress it later. Okay. Basically, this is my experience riding a Greyhound from Maryland to Atlanta and then back from Atlanta to Maryland. So for context, around this time, I think it was early March, I was in a long-distance relationship with somebody and I was planning to come see them for their birthday weekend. They said, my girl at the time said, unfortunately, her friends weren't really going to be able to hang out. Every time she asked about it, no one really responded. So me being the stupid romantic lover boy that I was, I'm like, okay, well, I'll figure something out. I had like no fucking car. I'm just like, I'll figure it out. I'm in Maryland. It's like a 17-hour distance from there. And I'm just like, yeah, I'll figure it out. And I was trying to look into plane rides. I have some family who happens to have family in Atlanta. And I talked to them to see if there was something that could work out where I could somehow get up there with them, or when they were coming up there sometime. And unfortunately, they weren't going around that time, but my cousin Kiana informed me that I could try the Greyhound, which I wasn't familiar with. I never knew this was a thing. Some of you probably also don't know, but essentially what the Greyhound bus is, or what a Greyhound bus is a bus that'll essentially take you very far. That's the simplest way I can put it. I'm not very eloquent or have a large vocabulary. You can get on a bus that'll take you from Maryland to New York or any other places pretty far. And essentially it is a cheaper alternative for people trying to travel who don't want to pay a bunch for a plane. And again, I wasn't familiar with the Greyhound at this time. I had never done it before. Everyone told me it was atrocious, and I was certain it was going to be a nightmare. But I'm lover boy, I'm stupid, and I'm determined. So nothing was going to stop me. I get the tickets, and I think the bus was supposed to arrive at the stop at like 1 o'clock at night. It was pretty late. I'm pretty sure it was around that time, 1 o'clock at night. But because I was not really familiar with the Greyhound, and I didn't know if it was going to be like the airport where it can be super busy, I went there 2 hours earlier. And also, some of you may know, a bit of a stoner. I couldn't bring like a cart or anything weed-wise because I was concerned that, hey, they'd be like, oh, you're trying to bring this across state lines or something like that. So I didn't know if there was going to be security checks or they were going to check my bags or anything like that. So my plan as this trip was getting closer was to essentially just take a couple edibles that a friend had given me, bring them with me, and then take them as I get on the bus so I can pass out and then, just hopefully be in Atlanta the next morning. Or around the next day, whatever. Back to point. So I don't know what to expect. I'm expecting this basically to be like very strict security, like an airport. Day gets there. I got all my stuff packed. I'm double checking everything, triple checking, because I really don't want to get on this bus and forget something. I really don't want to, be all the way in Atlanta and forget something really important. So I'm worried, I'm anxious, but, I call an Uber. I find out later down the line that I probably should have taken one to DC instead, and that might have been a little cheaper. But regardless, went to Baltimore, and I thought it would be, like a building or something that I'd be going inside with security and staff and everything like that. It was a bus stop. I think it had a special word or special sign or something, but it was a bus stop. There was no, there was absolutely no, security or anything being checked there. It was this big open area. It was a parking lot. And there was like no cars there. There was an area with a bunch of buses that were all parked and nobody was there, but there was no security or anything like that. So I way overestimated what was going to happen. So I get there, and the moment I get there, I think I was there first or somebody came up. I can't remember. Essentially, two people come up. One dude, I think one was like an Asian dude, one was a black dude. Black dude and me start talking, and and he's a Trump supporter. Look, it's 11 o'clock at night. I'm going to be 100% frank with all of you. If any of you got a problem with it, kiss my ass. It's 11 o'clock at night. I'm trying to get on this fucking bus and go to bed. I don't even want to fucking be here right now. It's late as fuck at night. I usually get high as fuck around this time, and I can't do shit. Like, I am sober as a fucking nun, and it sucks. So I was not about to sit here and have a debate with this dude at 11 o'clock at night about Trump and all this crazy shit that apparently is going on. He believes in all this QAnon conspiracy and how Trump is fighting the government Illuminati shit and all that. And I don't have time for it. Okay. So I just kind of let the dude talk. I'm like, oh, really? Okay. And like, he's like, you haven't heard any of this? I'm like, I don't really keep up with the news, man, which is for the most part true. But I mean, I hear more shit through the grapevine than I was letting on, certainly. But regardless, I can, I can pretty much sit and be friendly with about anyone. So we were cool, and his bus came. He was going to New York. He goes in the bus. He leaves. It's me, this Asian dude. And around the time I was talking to this black dude, this other dude came up. He was a smaller black guy. Think dreads, if I remember correctly. He had like three backpacks. Three backpacks are like sacks, bags, basically. He had clearly a lot of shit on him, and he was just dropped off. I don't know if it was a friend who dropped him off or if it was an Uber like me. I don't think it really matters. Point being, the one dude I was talking to leaves. The guy who's the Asian dude who was there, he leaves shortly after because another bus comes, and then it's just me and this other dude. And I am not really paying attention to him. Again, I only talked to the Trump supporter dude because he started talking. So I was just kind of stuck there. But I wasn't trying to go out of my way to talk to anybody. I think I coughed or something, and I heard a noise or something. And I looked over, and I heard something like, "Hey, man." And I looked over, and he goes, "Hey, you want to smoke?" And I'm like, nah, man, I'm good. And I was like, wait a minute, cigarette or weed? And he goes, weed. I was like, my man. This is my best friend for the I'm so sorry. Oh, I'm so sorry. Okay, I need to get to the point. This is probably going to get a lot of shit for this, and I should. But, the dude offered me weed. I really usually would be high at this point, and I was really irritated that the bus, I had to wait on the bus, and then I was waiting all this time. I didn't have to. So I'm like, oh, sweet. Like, thank you, dude. And he hands me this joint or something. I start taking a couple hits, and of course, like the fucking dork I am, I drop the fucking joint. The most uncouth thing you can do with a joint. I just, oh no! Give me 1 second. I gotta turn my gain down for this. Oh no! I'm so sorry, dude. That was like verbatim how I sounded. By the way, I'm pretty sure that's exactly what I said, and that exact tone and everything. I felt awful because this dude was so cool. He just handed me a joint. It was slightly raining at this point, so I just dropped it, on the wet ground. And I was freaking so sorry. I'm shaking because it's cold, and he's like, "It's all good, man. It's all good." And I pick it up and I hand it to him. And he's like, "No, man. Keep hitting. You're good. I keep hitting. And, I keep talking to the dude and I explain, I'm like, yeah, man. I'm like, what, I think he asked me what brought me here. I explained I'm going to see my girl, all this stuff. And then he's like, oh, that's nice, man. That's really cool. I'm actually, I'm having another kid. I'm like, really? Your dad? He's like, yeah, I just having my other kid or something. I was like, oh, that's awesome, man. Congratulations. He's like, yeah, I'm really excited. I'm really happy. So he was, he was a good dude. He was just feeling very generous because he was going, his kid was being born in Virginia, if I remember correctly. And he was going to go, see him or her, whatever. But he was very friendly. We had a great chat. He was cool. At one point, he had said something like, I just wish I had brought some food or something. And I had brought some Pop-Tarts. Well, I brought some, like, toaster tarts, pop 'em toasters, toast 'em poppers, one of those types. But regardless, I gave him one. I was like, oh, here you go, man. He's like, thanks. I was like, thank you. It was a mutual exchange. That's called, karma. He did a nice thing. I gave it right back. So again, it was chill. The weed was good. He was a cool dude. Bus came there. I handed him the joint. He put it out. We put our bags in the bus and we got on the Greyhound, and I was high as hell. And I passed out. Like I was feeling great. I was like, this made my night. I think I texted my dad about it too. I was like, Dad, you're not gonna believe what happened. Yeah. So that happens, and it was cool. Everything was chill. So I got to get some rest. Woke up in the morning. The Greyhound was a little rough because, you're kind of stuck there for a while. At some point, you're probably going to need to use the bathroom, and you're not exactly going to be able to get off when you really, immediately need to. And then, of course, as well, you might get thirsty. I just get generally thirsty. I tend to have a lot of water, but I also didn't feel like pissing in the bus a lot, so I didn't bring it. So I was just like, yeah, I'll just, try to hold off on it and be okay. But no, I got dehydrated real badly. So, the first ride or so was a little rough, but it was okay. I just more had trouble sleeping in the seat because I wasn't in like a window seat. And there was a dude who was in the window seat at the time. Although he was nice and later on was like, hey, man, let's just switch seats real quick because he could tell I was trying to sleep. But then that happens. I wake up eventually. It's like the next day. I'm still on the bus. It's still going. And but we're getting closer. We're getting closer and closer. So I take these 2 gummies I had. They were like these HHC gummies. They were all right. I've felt like I've had stronger, but I help make the trip a little more fun. Eventually get there. Unfortunately, something I didn't even think about. I had told my girl at the time, like, oh, I'm going to be there soon. So she, tried to get there early, but then the bus is late. So she's waiting there, and it wasn't exactly in the best part of Atlanta. So it wasn't exactly in the best part. So I was a little concerned. I mean, I could tell, like I was new here, but I could just tell, like, ooh, this don't look good. Like some dude had tried to like come talk to her while she was parked and apparently asked her like, excuse me, sweetheart, can I sit on your car for $20? It was something like that. He said, can I sit on your car? I don't know why that was what he wanted to do, but that's what she said, and it was funny as fuck. Okay. So that was my experience with the Greyhound first way through. Not terrible, just had a good night. It was cool as hell having a dude, smoke me up. That was nice. However, before we get into the next part, this story got me so much shit, and as much as I honestly hate my ex's guts, clearly over it, can't you tell? Clearly healed. As much as I hate my ex's guts, she was right on this. She was 100% right, and I'm not going to pretend otherwise. She was a bitch. She's a terrible person, but she was right on this. Essentially, and I had a feeling she was going to be pissed at me, but I told her, like, yeah, some dude smoked me up for her. It was real chill, and I was happy because, me as a stoner, and a lot of stoners I know, shit, my computer is starting to... shut off. I don't know. What was the word? It's going to screensaver, whatever. Anyways, as a stoner, I'm very generous. If I have edibles, especially I know where to get some pretty cheap edibles that are pretty good, I'll share them. I'll hand them to my, I'll hand them to friends if they come over, shit like that. Hey, you want some edibles? Whatever. You're generally pretty generous person. And most stoners I know are like that. It's rare I've met a stoner who's like, oh, no, I need to make sure I save weed for myself, even though, hardcore. But pretty rare. So this to me didn't seem that out of the blue. My girl, my ex, didn't smoke, and she didn't really do anything related to weed at that time. So she was fuming, and she's like, Terrance, why would you do that? What is wrong with you? Give me 1 second. Terrance, why would you do that? What is wrong with you? Why would you just let the dude smoke you up? You just take whatever that he fucking handed you, this dude you just met? She was so pissed. And I'm like, what? Like, no, what's the worry? The problem is she was the thing she was telling me that was like what I should be afraid of is the stuff that sounds like urban legend shit to stoners. So it's like, that could have been laced with something, Terrance. He could have put like PCP or cocaine in that. I'm like, no one is wasting expensive drugs on cheap drugs. You just made that, like, no one's doing that. She's like, no. I was like, maybe there's some rare times where maybe that happened. Maybe. It's such a rare thing though. It sounds so ridiculous to any stoner because we've been heard this stuff for years. Anyways. So she's all like, that could have been laced, Terrance. You could have been in real danger and all this. And I'm just like, you don't get it. You're not a stoner. You don't understand like how it would be. And she didn't really like weed in general, and she had issues with even me being a stoner. So I was just I was dismissive about it. There's no other way to put it. That's the word. Like, she got angry about it because she said I was dismissive about it, and she was correct. I felt like my reasoning made a little sense. She was absolutely correct. It pissed her off especially because I didn't immediately agree with her, but when my cousin Chase, who is a bigger stoner than I am, was in agreement with her, I then said I'm sorry. And she lost her shit because the way she took it was, oh, when a man tells you. No, it's because he's a stoner. And I will say again, regardless, I was being dismissive. And, she was right. Even my friend said, like, it kind of comes down to that old rule of, like, don't take candy from a stranger. You know what I mean? I think someone said this is like the type of shit Jeffrey Dahmer did, and I'm like, yeah, okay, that makes sense. Like, yeah, maybe it wouldn't have been laced with something, but especially the dude, being like, yeah, just keep hitting. Like, he could have at the very least been trying to keep me in like a less conscious state, so that way I'd be less likely to fight back or something. If it, whatever. I'll defend myself and say that dude was there for a while and had 3 bags. There were context clues that to me told me that this dude was safe. My ex was not wrong though. Like, that's not something you should do as a rule. I didn't think about it, but I'm like, man, if he is saying as a hardcore stoner, yeah, I take that a little more seriously than from somebody who doesn't smoke at all. Is that dismissive? Yeah, it is generally, but at the time it felt like it was a reasonable reason to be dismissive. Anyways. So that's the whole experience with that. That shit was funny. Everyone thought that was funny, but everyone also agreed, like, yeah, that was kind of stupid. And yeah, as much as my ex is a bitch, she was right about that. Moving on. So originally the trip was only supposed to be like a weekend. We were just going to hang at her place, maybe go to a few restaurants, maybe go hiking or something. It was just, I was trying to spoil her. I don't have the most money, but I'm trying to make it work. But I think it was like the 3rd or 4th day, basically, the day before I'm supposed to leave, she says to me, I really wish you could stay here an extra day. And again, me being the lover boy that I was, always aiming to please, I then tried to see what I could work out. And I was able to. Had to pay a little extra, but basically I could stay an extra 2 days. But the cost would be that I would need a ride in the morning, because I didn't want to get up in the morning, take an Uber, and get there. I was planning on going at night. But she said that's fine. She's going to give me a ride. She gives me a ride there. The Atlanta Greyhound area was very different. I will say that. It wasn't like there was security as in they're checking you a bunch, but there were staff there. There were staff. There was a whole building with chairs and everything. You know, it looks similar to, like an airport. Everyone's just kind of waiting around. Well, I start to notice as I'm waiting on this bus that my phone is showing me that the bus is late or the bus is... Sorry, give me 1 second. I just want to check. I got an email. I got to check it. All right, that is a client. I'm not going to give out who that is, but that is a client. Sorry if you hear any background noise, by the way. Usually when I'm recording a story, sometimes an AC will actually kick on and I will stop the recording and I'll have to wait for it to turn off so I can get back to what I was doing. So that way there's nothing, in the background noise while I'm recording. But this is for my channel and I think we'll be all right. Don't need necessarily get that immersed. Anyways, so I'm sitting in the Atlanta Atlanta Greyhound spot, whatever, Greyhound bus stop, we'll say, and essentially bus station, I think what the term would be. Essentially, there's a lot of people. I'm waiting. I'm concerned because it looks like, based on the GPS and everything, the bus already passed where I am and is already heading on its destination, and I'm very confused. But it also said something different in the text and said it was supposed to be here by this time, but we were already past that time. So I was like, did the bus get here? What's going on? I went and talked to the staff, and they were just like, you're fine. Like, yeah, I understand it's a little weird. I talked with the guy. He's going to get here. Okay, cool. I go sit down. We wait for a minute. All of a sudden, we get something about Atlanta to Baltimore bus, blah, 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 heading now. Okay, cool. Boarding now. Everyone's getting on. As we get on, dude comes out. The driver comes out. The bus driver looked like Killer Mike with like a slightly Cedric the Entertainer beard, if I remember correctly. Just kind of gray around his beard. We'll go with that. Like, it was more like this, but it was gray. It was black with like some gray on the end. He was tall, and he talked like Andre 3000. That's what he sounded like to me. His voice sounded like Andre 3000. And we get on this bus. It's a very nice bus. It was air conditioned, much better than the one I was on before. Very comfy. I'm actually kind of excited. We get there, and the dude immediately starts giving a speech, explanation, basically just going over the rules of conduct for the bus, we'll say. People are starting to board, and he goes, okay, I need everyone to be quiet, and I need everyone to listen very carefully. This is very important. It is important for me to get my job done and do it right. So I need everyone to pay attention. Please be quiet. Please get off your phone. Please pay attention to me. All right, man, I hear you. I'm all ears. I'm sitting there. And he goes, we got some rules to go over for this bus. I want to make it very clear that these rules are very important in order to make sure that I can do my job properly and safely. If you do not follow these rules, I reserve the right to remove you from my bus. He was so intense. It was not in the morning, bro. It was not in the morning. It was so intense. But I'm just like, okay, like, all right, I got you. All right, I guess. Like, when I got on the bus before, it was late at night. So I'm imagining, the driver doesn't want to go over that shit. There wasn't a whole lot of people. I don't think he really felt he needed to. This bus was packed at this point. And there was, Atlanta's a lot busier than Maryland. So this dude was going over everything. And he starts to go, first thing, it was no talking. He said, no talking. No talking on the phones. No playing videos on your phones. No playing games or anything like that. He goes, I need this bus quiet. That stuff gets loud. It's in a packed space. It starts to get loud and I can't hear the road as well. I can't pay attention as much because that is distracting me. If you do not follow these rules, I reserve the right to remove you off my bus. This motherfucker did not stop repeating that, by the way. I'm sorry, he was really entertaining. I really like this guy. He was so, like, I don't know. It was something like he wasn't yelling. He wasn't necessarily being rude. He was just firm. This was a dude who was not playing today. Like, it wasn't like he was trying to be a dick. He was just clearly had a day. And he explained, he's like, I don't want to hear anything about being late to my bus stop or anything like that or anything. It's not my fault. I got here as quick as I could. It's not my fault. Someone decided to quit today. So I now have the explanation of why he's so intense. He's probably had a lot of people hounding his neck, had to wake up at a time he probably wasn't supposed to, all this bullshit. He's probably dealt with tons of angry customers. I can kind of see where this dude's coming from. So I'm like, all right. I mean, it's not like I plan on talking anyway. I wanted my headphones on. I wanted to not be bothered. At this point, I had like a disposable cart with me too, because I had bought one while I was in Atlanta, like a Delta 8 thing. And he mentioned, he's like, and I knew this was a rule pretty much already, but he's like, another thing, no smoking in my bus. If I start to smell weed on this bus, this is a federal property, something like that, he said, there is not allowed to be weed on this bus. If I smell weed on this bus, I will remove you off my bus. I reserve the right to remove you off my bus. This motherfucker knew what he was talking about. This dude clearly did his research for his job. I don't know who fucked him over, to what point, to that he had to make sure. He's like, no, I'm going to know my rights next time. You're going to make sure you never fuck with me again. But bravo, good sir. I respect it 100%. Also, again, endlessly entertaining. So he goes over, don't smoke weed. Fine, whatever. Don't smoke weed. Don't hit a vape or anything, which again, I already knew, but he's basically saying apparently gets into the air circulation, something like that. And, it's distracting. Don't do it. Oh, good. All good. And he said something about, like he said, if the bus, if I hear you talking too loud, if I hear your music too loud, if I hear a video or something distracting me, I will stop the bus and I will remove, and if he keeps going, I will remove you off the bus. Very intense, but again, I kind of understood where he was coming from. So everyone's just kind of like, okay. It seemed like everyone kind of understood where he was coming from at first. So we start going. And I remember, I got to the bus stop at like 8 in the morning, got on the bus at 9, and then I remember going for maybe an hour or two. I can't remember the exact area we were in, like state or city-wise, but we stopped somewhere, and I'm not 100% sure what happened, but I think it was something to the effect of, I just heard, no ma'am, you are not getting on my bus now. That's all I heard. Like I was like, what? What's going on? He's like, what do you mean I'm not getting on this bus? I paid $300 for this bus. And he goes, that's not my problem, ma'am. You take it up with Greyhound. This is my bus. I reserve the right to keep you off my bus. That you are, he used some very professional terminology, basically. I can't remember how he phrased it, but this was clearly a dude who knew what his power was in this job, what he was able to do, what he was allowed to do. And he was not afraid to do it. And he apparently, what happened, from what I could gather, was that this lady came with her kid. I don't know what the kid did, but he said something to the kid. She said, don't talk to my son like that. And he said, don't get on my bus then. You're being a problem. And he said, lady, you are holding these people up. This is a federal vehicle, something like that. You are holding them hostage. If you do not get off here, I will call the police. We will all have to be escorted, and we'll deal with that when it gets to it, basically. He was just like, I will call the police. Like, I can call the police on you because you're keeping us here. We're trying to get to our destination. You're keeping us away. Again, this dude knew his job. very clearly. Very entertaining. And even the people in the back we were all kind of on the guy's side. They're like, lady, please. Because maybe we were all on the guy's side, or maybe we just didn't want to miss our stop. They didn't want to miss their stop. Keep in mind at this point, again, it's my first time going on the Greyhound. I'm a little ignorant, so we're going to get a revelation soon. Fuck off with that lawnmower. Point being, so we're all just kind of like annoyed. I mean, I'm all right. Again, I just think this is entertaining. Everyone else is annoyed. But eventually, she's like, no, I'm not getting off. I'm not getting off. So he goes, okay, ma'am. Everyone, I'm going to have to politely ask you to exit the bus, exit the vehicle. You can go ahead and go to, we were next to like a gas station, can't remember the name of it, but it was connected to like a McDonald's too. And they're like, you can go ahead and in there, get something to eat if you want. We're going to be here for probably about 15 minutes or so. I'm sorry about this, y'all. We'll handle this as quick as possible. Again, intense, clearly heated, but very professional. And so I go into the gas station. I think I got like a Take 5 and a drink or something. I had like a Take 5 candy in years. So I had one of those and a soda, maybe a bag of chips. I can't remember. I was still kind of in vacation mode, so I'm just like, pig out, like an idiot. Anyways, I'm in the gas station. The driver walks around me, and I just look at him. He goes, you good? I'm like, yeah, I'm good. What's up? And he goes, nah, I'm just checking. Are you okay, sir? Is everything good? And I'm like, yeah, I'm fine. I'm not worried about shit. He goes, okay. I was like, I'm just trying to, get to my destination. And he goes, okay. We start going. Now, eventually, I guess the police did get there, in case you're curious, and they did tell her, unfortunately, if you feel you were screwed over, if you feel like he did some issue, or he's the problem, you're going to have to take it up with the establishment. You're going to have to take it up with Greyhound as a company, not him. And this is just not going to be handled this way right now. So that's what ended up happening. And I've really felt bad for that lady. Because I still liked the dude. He was really entertaining. But I don't know. Whenever it comes down to like a kid getting involved, I just feel like, I guess I'm always a little more defensive of the kid. And if her being like, oh, well, don't talk to my kid like that. I'm like, well, what did you say? Well, what did you say? Because maybe she said something, but I'm just kind of curious. What did you say to her kid, if anything? I just don't think she was. I don't know if she was lying, and I really don't know what's going on. But the end of the story, that part was, she had to leave the bus. We get back on. She starts going on about, I'm sorry about that, y'all. But just to be clear, all this stuff going on, it's not my fault. So, I'm going to try to get you to your destination as quick as we can. Please remember to follow the rules. I don't want to hear any complaints about, you still would get intense. I want to hear any complaints about, I'm late. That's not my fault. I'm doing the best I can. Some old lady had asked a question like right after that, because she's being sweet. And she's like, but what will I get to my bus stop on time or something like that? Some ignorant question. And the dude just went, like he was talking. He's like, ma'am, I don't know. I'm trying to do my best. He's like, but will I? And he just goes, and he gave her this look that said, bitch. Like, really? Not bitch, but it was definitely a look that said, really? Like, I just explained it to you. And she got the message. Everyone kind of laughed. She's like, okay, I got you. There was one dude who wanted to fight him. I remember hearing some dude saying, I don't know what that dude's problem is, but if he keeps talking shit, I'm going to kick his ass. And then I remember the driver, if I remember correctly, saying something back to him, which also, again, kind of just made me like the dude and respect him a lot, because he's just doing his job. And he's like, oh, you want to try this? Okay, let's go. Let's go. I don't know if he was necessarily saying, well, if we can fight it out, or if he was saying, I will call the police, whatever. Regardless, to the fact that they were, trying to challenge him in some way when he's just doing his job, and he's just like, yeah, all right, come on. I had to respect it. I still have a lot of respect for this dude. I got angry at him later on, and I'll explain why. But I still honestly have a lot of respect for him. So, yeah, that happens, and I think at one point, someone's phone goes on, and he stops the bus again. I don't know if that dude didn't get the memo that time. I can't remember, but someone's phone was playing. He stopped the bus, and essentially, like just left, like we waited there for a minute, and some dudes made a point, was like, dude, are you serious right now? We got a place to be. And I will say I felt like that was a little unnecessary. You could have maybe been like, hey, I already said, please turn off phones, make one little point or something. But again, the dude already had a day. I honestly just kind of understand. I do. So anyways, point being, so eventually as we're going, we have to make a stop at Raleigh, North Carolina. I think that's how it's pronounced. Raleigh. Pretty much everyone I think has said Raleigh. No, I don't care to do the research right now. Originally, on my original trip back home, I was supposed to it was a one-way thing. My trip from Maryland to Atlanta, one-way trip. When I changed things, it went from a one-way trip to a two-way. I had to make a stop and switch buses. When I saw that, I was like, okay, cool, whatever. Didn't think anything of it. And again, people kept mentioning things being late, but I'm not thinking anything of it because I'm in fucking La La. I just want to get home. I'm tired. I don't care. And I'm just like, whatever, okay, cool. Then we get there, and I'm like, okay, maybe we missed the bus. Once I realized that, I was like, oh. That's when I realized some shit fucked up. So I go in there, it's me and a couple other people, and we talk for a minute, and then eventually we talk with the lady working there, and she's like, okay, well, we're going to reschedule you a new spot, and she's like typing all up and stuff, and I'm like, okay, and she's like, and where are you, where's your destination? And I'm like, Baltimore, Maryland. She goes, okay, the nearest bus to Baltimore, okay, I have you scheduled for 12:45 p.m. Just like that. Like, just looked... Again, I kind of respect her for being able to do it so well. Man, I can't deliver lines that well, man. I've in my just 10 years, I think, at this point as an actor. It's been 10 years? Shit. I have not once delivered a line that well. Lady, what are you doing? Get in this field. Anyways, so she says that to me. You can take a guess. I didn't exactly take it well. It wasn't the happiest guy on the planet Earth because it was like 6 o'clock at this point. Again, I got the bus for Atlanta around 8. So it was like 6 o'clock at this point. I already been on the bus for a very long time, and now I was being told I have to wait basically another 6-7 hours to get on a bus to get home, which this bus also has 2 stops it has to make. So I can't even necessarily just sleep through the whole night. You know what I mean? Not easily, at least. So I'm pissed. My girl's pissed. We're just talking and bitching. I remember, me being a heated. Essentially, I was just being a Karen at that point. I mean, I did some shit, and I don't feel bad about it per se, because I don't think it really affected anyone. But being completely transparent, self-aware, and taking my own accountability into things, or just really being realistic about the whole thing, I think they honestly did the best they did. At that time, though, I wasn't hearing that. So I'm calling Greyhound. I'm like, what am I supposed to do? Bitching. You can bitch all you want. They don't give a fuck. They didn't give a fuck. So, point being, I was pissed. Whatever. I just kind of sat. I couldn't do anything. So I just kind of sat there, talked to my girl on the phone. I think around this time, HSP was planning the 1 million subscriber horror shorts party trip in Canada. So he was asking me, I was filling out all the stuff for, plane tickets and things like that. But other than that, I was just basically gaming, talking with my girl on the phone, and I did order some Wendy's at one point because I needed to eat. I wanted to eat the food she made me. It was actually really good. Again, she was a very good cook. Another thing I got to give her some credit for. I really wanted to eat that shit. She made vegetables taste good. Not like I don't eat vegetables, but like she made me want eat vegetables that I'm like, Please give me more. I want this over the meat. I was stuck there, but we managed. I just kind of sat there, played games. We talked on the phone. Eventually, she got off. She got tired. It was getting closer to bedtime. And I just kind of started listening to these old heads talk about old age hip hop and new age hip hop, which became my fascination for that night. I'm not going to lie. I love it when old people debate shit. I don't know why. And I didn't agree with them or anything, but it's funny because they started going on about how Lil Nas X sold his soul to the devil and all this shit. And I was like, ooh, this type of old people, this type of old heads. Let's get into it. Come on, it's going to get interesting. Let's go. But yeah, so that night goes on. I think I talked with some older dude around that time. Eventually the bus gets there and lady comes out, gives us all this lecture and stuff, explains. She wasn't as intense as the other dude. She makes a point to let us know that, hey, we are going to have to stop at one place, and when we get there, everyone's going to have to get out, even if you're not transferring buses. But you'll come back in almost immediately after. So that's annoying. Whatever. We get on the bus. It's packed as hell. There's tons of people to the point that nobody's actually taking their assigned seat. When you book a Greyhound, you have to have an assigned seat. Now, if it's empty and you want to take it, you can do that. Just try not to be a dick and don't actually keep it if the person who reserved that seat comes by. Be ready to give it up, basically. Don't be a dick about it. Point being, nobody could get in their reserved seat. So I am just kind of like, okay. I was irritated. I'm like, bro, I got the window seat. And then this dude, it was a tiny Hispanic guy. I don't think, he didn't really seem to speak English well. He just didn't. I could tell he wasn't trying to be a dick. And he was just kind of looking at me. And one of the old dudes from, the bus stop was like, yeah, no one can find their spot. I'm like, huh? And he's like, yeah, no one can find their spot, man. I'm sorry. And I'm like, all right, fine, whatever. And he's like, yeah, man, I'm sorry. I was just, I wanted my spot too, but I was trying to say, I was like, you're good. And it's whatever. So, to set the scene, again, we're going late in the night. It's 12 o'clock at least, 12:45 if I remember correctly. And I am in, we'll call it the walkway seating. I'm near the walkway. The guy next to me is next to the window seat. We start going, and I think I passed out for a second, and then I woke up and we were in whatever spot we needed to get to, just stop for a second and then get back on the bus. That little stop the lady told us about. We stop at this one bus station, and of course, I wake up. My mouth is dry as fuck. I am like, it was torture. I don't know about you guys. I don't usually get super dehydrated, but every now and then when I'm really thirsty and I just can't get a drink, it is the most agonizing feeling. I'd rather just get punched in the face than deal with that shit. If I could get punched in the face to alleviate it, I would. Anyways, we all get off. We get in the bus station. I walk inside. I'm thirsty as fuck. And I'm like, I need a water bottle. I'm not trying to spend too much money, but I need some water. I need a drink. I get there. And of course, there's 4 soda vending machines. To be clear, there's other snack vending machines, but there are 4, count them, 1, 2, 3, 4 soda vending machines. And of those 4 vending machines, not one of them had water. The most essential thing in our lives, not one of them had water. And I couldn't find a water fountain to save my fucking life. So, just the worst fucking luck imaginable. I'm dying of thirst here. And, of course, there's no water. So I have to get a lemonade because I'm like, well, that at least feels refreshing. It'll, hopefully satiate me for now. It didn't, but whatever. It was better than nothing, I guess. So we get back on. Now, for context, I had some valuables with me, and I wanted to make sure those were safe with me. I'm very particular about those. And again, I've never been on the Greyhound, and then I realized especially they don't do security checks. Just on a side note, not saying in any way that this would be a good idea or it's okay, but I would say, and maybe some gun nut will tell me I'm wrong here or whatever, but like, you can very easily. Anyways, we get back on the bus. I had two bags. One bag that was this big black and white striped bag that I did put under the bus, like where all the other luggage is, because essentially it didn't really have anything that valuable in it other than clothes. But my console stuff, that I kept with me. So I had that in a bag that was on my lap, and I was keeping it there because I felt more comfortable with it on my lap than anything else. I go to sleep. I'm trying to get as what rest I can because again, I've been on the Greyhound since literally the day before because it's midnight now, and I pass out for like maybe an hour, maybe, and I wake up and I am delirious. Would be the best way to put it. I'm not 100% sure where I am. I'm stuck between thinking that I am laying in bed with my girl at that time, like I was still in her bed for some reason, and thinking that I'm on the last bus I was on before I had someone sitting next to me. So I don't know where I am. And I kind of start to gather that I'm on the bus. I still not 100% sure what exactly is going on, but I'm like, all right, I'm on the bus. Oh shit, where's my bag? Because I didn't feel it, I guess, on my legs at that moment. So I was like, where's my bag? And earlier on the other bus, I had my bag on the floor, whereas now I had it on my lap because there was someone here. Well, you might be able to tell where this is going. When I woke up, I was delirious. So I'm like, where's my bag? Where's my bag? And my hand just instantly like clapped down. Not like let me just put it down. Like a, oh, I'm going to hell for this. Clapped his hand down, right? Not clap his hand down. Clapped my hand down. And I felt something. And I wasn't sure what it was. I wasn't sure. It felt, a little different than I expected. Not the same feeling I get when I'm holding my bag. Clearly not the same texture, not the same material. And I'm thinking, again, I'm slightly delirious. So admittedly, a part of me wasn't sure, as crazy as it sounds, if I was holding on to my bag or my girl's leg. I still don't know why I would have thought to do this. But what ended up happening, again, I'm clearly holding something. I'm not 100% sure what it is. And, me being in the very clear-headed state of mind at this point, what I decided to do is grab it, clench it very tightly. And I start moving my hand up and down like this. I'm sorry. Give me a second. This is not okay to laugh at. This was not okay, but I'm sorry. I can't help it. I felt bad and it just made me nervous. I started doing that. And then a second later, I realized, oh shit. When I tell you all, the look of terror this man had on his face. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I know this is terrible, but I can't help it. This dude was clearly horrified because, again, for context, he clearly didn't speak English well. He is stuck. He is in a crowded bus late at night. Almost everyone is asleep. And he is stuck on this fucking window seat. He can't get out if he wants to. I'm here. He has to get past me, right? So he can barely speak English. So he can barely form the words to explain what the hell just happened or or even explain, say say anything to me, basically, to make that any less uncomfortable. And he just basically had to sit there, and just hope I didn't do it again. Because again, he doesn't know what my intent was. I apologize. I said like, oh, I'm so sorry. And I tried my best to communicate like, hey, really sorry. But after that point, I tried to avoid eye contact with him, period. And just tried to keep my distance, and actually tried to look more frail. Because it's not like he, was like angry or anything, but I just didn't want him thinking that like that was intentional. I didn't want him thinking I was like the Greyhound creep that night. So I wanted him to know that it wasn't like, I didn't want him thinking that it was going to happen again, basically. Because essentially this dude just had to sit there and hope that I wouldn't. But yeah, so that happens. I felt awful. Even though, yes, I can't help but laugh when I tell the story. I think eventually he gets off, and eventually he actually at one point types on his phone way later on, when are you getting off? When are you getting off the bus, you fucking... Get away from me. I don't have the words to report you to the police right now, but when are you leaving? Oh, shit. Oh, fuck. And so I explain, I'm dropping off at Maryland or whatever. He gets off. I get to DC. We have to make a stop, switch buses. Takes forever. It's cold as fuck. It's early in the morning. DC sucks, at least at this area. We get on finally. As we start getting closer to Baltimore, I started planning my Uber ride home, and realized that if I had just stopped in DC, it actually would have been cheaper and not taken as long. I could have been home much sooner, but I didn't. So unfortunately, I got to Baltimore exhausted. For context, again, that little bit of sleep that I told you about, that was it. I can't, I think I tried to lay down, maybe close my eyes a bit. Maybe for a second, it felt like some time passed, but I swear to God, that was like all I got. And any actual productive sleep. And then I had to take an Uber ride home, and the dude picked me up, and I was so tired. Again, first off, before we even get to that point, again, really thirsty here, really need water, haven't really drank like all day. And I get here, and of course, there's no water. There's 2 vending machines with nothing in them. They don't even work. Why not? It's just more for the content, I guess. Maybe it's just God's funny way of saying, hey, I actually am on your side. This will be great content. But yeah, I get on the ride. I told the man, bro, I've gotten no sleep. Do you got my direction? You got the GPS and everything? He's like, yeah. I was like, you got any questions? He's like, no. I'm like, all right, cool. I'm going to pass out. He goes, okay. I swear to God, I closed my eyes. I woke up. We were at my house. It was like that. It took no time at all. I was like, oh, shit. And I was, oh, all right. I got up, got my shit, dropped my fucking bags, got a glass of water, chugged that shit. I maybe went to the bathroom. I can't remember. And then I passed out for as long as I could. I think it had only been like 4 or 5 hours. And then my girl had called me again. And I'm like, huh? She's like, oh, are you still sleeping? I'm like, yeah. And she's like, okay, I'll leave you. Thank you. Yeah. So that concludes that story. But that was my experience with the Greyhound. I guess that doesn't conclude it. After that, I did try to report them to the Better Business Bureau and stuff like that. As I was mentioning before, I was very heated about that whole thing because that turned a trip that was supposed to be already very long, a 17-hour trip, into... And I was pretty pissed, and I did everything I could, reported it, tried to get a refund. They said, look, these things happen. It really wasn't our fault. We did everything we could. It wasn't actually personal. It was it was like a YouTube form letter almost. Clearly this is just the copy paste thing they give to people who are asking for refunds. And honestly, again, just looking at it objectively, as upset as I was, as angry as I was at the dude at the time, he was still entertaining. He really was. And he really clearly seemed to know his job very well. And he still got my respect. He was too fucking funny not to like. And, same with the lady working there too, who was just like, okay, your stop will be 12:45. Like, she's just doing her job. I just knew they were all doing their jobs, and unfortunately, I got angry and tried to, lash out and hope that I was gonna get some money back. It didn't. I did talk with P&C, I think, about it, trying to see if we could get some deal going on. They basically said, I think there had to be some rule or something, and they couldn't. But regardless, but honestly, looking back at it objectively, again, those things happen. Was I happy about it? No. Do I think things could maybe be handled a bit differently, maybe better? Sure. I'm sure there could be. But at the end of the day, I got no issues personally with the people at Greyhound or anything like that. I just had a bad experience. And it still made for a really funny story, so I'm kind of glad it happened. And I hope you guys have enjoyed this tale. I will plan to do more impromptu stuff like this. I'm planning to. I have a video where I'm going to basically be going over the entirety of P. Diddy's, I guess, criminal history, or all the shit that's coming out right now. It's been kind of my hyperfixation, so I'll be doing a video on that soon. I got some review type stuff planned. I got a lot of stuff planned. I even got some collab stuff with a friend of mine. So be ready, be on the lookout. Some stuff's coming out. But I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you had a good time. If you had a laugh, share it with your friends. Leave a comment, subscribe if you're new. Please share. I got a lot of video ideas right now, and I want to start making a lot more content. So, share it. Let's try to, really get it out there. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I hope you guys have a good day. Peace.